Hey guys, so I've been experimenting with this very expensive fabric, so you don't have to. And here's what I'm getting so far, and I'm kind of just confirming some things I already knew, but to an extent, like, I didn't know. I know sanding, like, makes it brighter. You can see kind of where I've been scraping at it. But I didn't know to what extent and then how that affected things, because what happens is, like, when you nick the fiber, so it has all these little nicks in it, right? That's what creates these sparkles, because wherever the nick is, like, instead of thinking of it as this teeny tiny fiber, think of it as a big cable, right? And anywhere there's a nick in the cable, that's where the light hits it and then gets irradiated out, I guess. The fiber itself, like, actually doesn't really glow all that much until there's a nick, which is why fiber optic cables for your internet and stuff, I could go into signal degradation, but I won't. Anyway, basically, these nicks, every time you nick this cable, right, it no longer passes light through that spot, and so you either need to farther along that same line put another nick but deeper down, or you need to nick it in a different spot around, like, the circumference of the fiber. And so what sanding does is it creates these much finer nicks at a certain depth, and it keeps it at that depth. Now this here, you can see how it just gets dark on this side, right? That's because I did kind of a heavy sanding, and you can see it's very, very, very bright up here at the top, but then it very quickly gets dark, because those nicks are now preventing light from going any farther along. I haven't tried, I don't think it would matter. And then over here, I kind of tried doing a fade so that, like, I sanded a little heavier at the bottom and then, like, lightened it up, but that doesn't really seem to work too much either in terms of, like, making the feather all that much brighter. Like, if you do this kind of thing, you can even see it starts to, like, in the middle of where I was sanding, it kind of starts to fade out, and it's really inconsistent on how much brightness you get versus, well, hold on, where's the button on this side? So it has two sides. Is battery. There we go. So, I mean, you can see from the other side, it does kind of reach up here, but, like, this is, you can see where it really starts to fade by how far the light on the other side is what reaches. And so, like, you would have, like, sparkly, pretty fiber. If you didn't sand it, you get more of, like, an even tone if you do sand it, but then you're kind of running into, like, this blackout issue where you might get these patches. So I don't know if it's worth it, because it's also, I mean, I could go with probably should try it with some other sandpapers. I might try some in here, because I want to actually make feathers with this side. But the other thing you could do that I think is really cool is you can put patterns in, little swirlies. I kind of did, like, a fire thing with the sandpaper here, just, like, creating a blade and then whooshing my way up. And I think that looks kind of cool. Like, you could create, if there's, like, a pattern that you want to create in the feather, you could do that. I'm actually probably going to take this one and see how that looks inside of I have a couple ideas for what I can do with these feathers. So I'm going to give that a whirl with this one, and then with this side. I might even do this one just so, I mean, heck, why not? The fabric's expensive. I might as well give it a try, right? Who's it gonna hurt? Let's see what happens. Okay, I want to kind of state the obvious here, but maybe it's not obvious because I just thought of it. Basically, this fabric is dimmer than it looks in the video. It definitely, I don't know, it's not nearly as bright as it shows up. It's also not nearly this dark in here. I can see, but I think it's just the way the balance is. But, okay, I don't know, it's really expensive fabric, so I don't know how involved you want to get here. But option, if you don't think this is bright enough, and again, it's not this bright, you can double up your fabric and get a brighter feather. This actually is getting kind of to the level where I would think that it looks best. Maybe one more layer? I don't know. Unfortunately, I can't put this layer on because I dorked it up by sanding it unintentionally, I swear. But I have more. I can deal with it. I don't know. Experimenting will continue. But yeah, like, I think that, like, having a double layer around a wire, might work. I'm going to probably, because you can't use the same glue because it's clear, but it's not actually clear. I'm going to test and see if this will work with 77 spray glue. Maybe I'll do that with those two. And do a double feather. And with these ones, I'll do single feathers with different types of fabrics, just to see how those turn out. And then I have one last feather, this one long feather, where I kind of started doing a fade down there. You can even kind of see, so like up here, it's like like crazy bright, and then it like really starts to fade. And actually down here, again, like this, I actually can't, with my naked eye, I can barely see. It comes out way better here. And then I started kind of doing a fade sand to give it a little more oomph towards the tip, and I'm going to kind of fade it out as I go up a little bit and see if I can't get this to be more of an even tone throughout. I will likely be unsuccessful, but this is probably about as long as you can make it, maybe another few inches, maybe another 5-6 inches off this, and that might be the largest we can do, and I'll do a calculation on how big that wing would be, but I don't know. Okay. And this is how we learn, kids. So this was the fire one. I had high hopes for using, well, hold on, basically I had very high hopes for using heat as a method, and using the vinyl and then melting everything together so that it was all one piece. But you know, I didn't know if it would work, especially since it's a plastic, it's probably gonna melt, it's like yada yada yada. Like, I was pretty sure that there would be challenges, but yeah, it, like, the end of the fabric's over here. So, fun fact, heat, bad, very bad. So we're gonna cut off this end and I'm gonna go back to glue. Okay, everybody, so I tried the heat. Does not work. Don't use heat on this. I suspected and confirmed that that's a terrible idea. So I made this feather. This is with the light on. It looks like a white feather. It is pretty sheer, so any quills that you have that are using, you're going to want to paint before you put them in, like a white or an off-white, even if you like having that contrast. Like, don't leave it the bare wire. But I'm just trying to see how that works. But let's see what it looks like under when it's dark. Okay, so in the light, it looks like it's white, pretty much. Even with the lights on. The lights were on when I was showing you stuff. When the lights are off, this is what the feather looks like. This is the sandwich layer between that flame one and then the one I ended up kind of messing up the bottom to try and do a fade, and having, you can kind of see some of the lines where I just did a very light scratch with the sandpaper. Honestly, I'm not enjoying how that's turning out. I'm going to try a couple different methods with the other sets that I have. Okay, so a quick note on stiffness. It's not terrible. It does have some stiffness to it. The feather, it's not nearly as bad as some other fabrics. However, it is still like pretty malleable. It's not as stiff as I would like it. Might be able to hit this double layer one. I mean, like, it's close. Might be able to hit it with some starch, and that might be all you need. There might also be the possibility of putting something stiff and clear in between the layers so that it gets a little stiffer. I don't know. More experimentation. Okay, so I've tried, both of these were using 77 spray glue. In terms of stiffness, this one's just ever so slightly stiffer. This one is a little more flop. It's just got the organza on both sides, sandwiching the wire and the fiber optic fabric, I think. I mean, and again, you're gonna have to paint this wire before you do anything. And let's see what they look like comparatively under darkness. Okay, so again, this is 1 layer versus 2 layers, and this has some sanding, very little, honestly. Mostly you can see the swirls here, and you can see some scratching there, but that's the difference kind of in brightness between 1 and 2 layers. This one has absolutely no no sanding. Again, everything is brighter on my camera than it is in real life. Both are on the dim side. I think, like, in near perfect darkness, I mean, or if it's very dark out, I think that these would look lovely as a full set of wings, and I am absolutely going to make one. I have a few more tests that I can do. I've got 3. No, I've only got 2 more tests that I can try with those. But I don't know. The nice thing is, like, at night, you could absolutely change the color of your wings, especially in conjunction. If you put, it looks really lovely under, to put LED lights under feathers. They glow really nicely, kind of the same under fur. Oh, seizure warning. Jeez. Hold on, let me turn that guy off. I don't know. I think, like, honestly, the one that, jeez, where's this control for this side? Here we go. I feel like this, like, doing the double layer is the better option. You get basically what looks like a white wing. You could use white feathers, and then you could put LEDs, and at night you could have, like, a really cool light show. I think that's the best way to go. This one's, like, just so floppy, though I guess if you're on a budget, like, if you're using white, like, you know, organza can have, like, that really lovely, you can get kind of some iridescent sheen on them. I might try doing this with, like, a white pearlescent, and that would probably look super cool. And then you have a white pearlescent wing during the day, and then you can light them up at night. And you can do more than what I have programmed here, obviously. You can program them however you want. The downside with these is there's just the one... there's 2 LEDs in here, but there's, you know, you group the LEDs, so you can only get so many colors. You can't, like, you can program individual LEDs to do something different and do all kinds of really fun light shows. You can't quite do that with these. Essentially, every feather is going to have, its own color. So you can, like, light show individual feathers, but you can't, like, light show down along the feather so that it, like, does sweeping anything. So anyway, those are my thoughts so far. Probably I'll do a couple more experiments with these to kind of nail down a couple of options. And then I'm probably gonna order a bunch of this fabric and see what happens. Because, you know, New Year's will happen eventually, I suppose. Knock on wood.